All right. Well, I think we've got a good number of attendees signed in. I'm sure there'll be a few more people that trickle in. But good afternoon, good morning, everyone. Welcome to our first ever customer meetup and panel discussion. This is John Tefkowski here with SmartPM. I want to welcome you to today's session, and I want to thank everyone for joining today, especially on a Friday afternoon. And also, since you've probably already been on an overabundance of webinars and conference calls and virtual meetings over the past few weeks. So we sincerely appreciate you joining us today and spending time with us. This couldn't, be possible without you as customers. So we're excited to have this session today. Today's session will be recorded and edited for distribution afterwards. So in case you want to refer back to any of the materials that we cover today, or if you have to go off and attend to kids or pets or whatever else may require your attention as you're probably working from a different place than your normal office location, we'll be able to distribute this recording afterwards, so you can refer back to it. So joining me today are Billy Upchurch from SmartPM, who I think most of you are familiar with, along with three great panelists that we're excited to bring to you. They're also SmartPM customers, and they're prepared to share their insights around some of the challenges we're currently facing with the industry, and share their experiences and how they're responding to COVID-19 and the impacts and delays associated with COVID-19. Again, we're excited today to bring this material to you. We've got, our customer base spans industries from financial institutions to owners to developers, to general contractors and CMs, consultants, really all sorts of stakeholders in the industry. And we felt, that now more than ever, it's extremely important to try and bring people together to network, to develop a sense of community, and to collaborate on things. And I think we've got a good representation from each of those groups here participating today. The group that we have in front of us is, again, a testament to you as a customer base. We value you, and we are here to support you in this time. And as our customer base and user base grows here at SmartPM, we believe in continuing to bring together a community and fostering a community that shares ideas, shares best practices, and has insightful industry discussions like sessions today. So we've got a great session plan. I'll go over the agenda and then we'll dive into it. So we're going to cover SmartPM's response to COVID-19, some of the things that we're doing on our end, some of the additional resources that we're making available to you as customers. We'll dive into a demonstration of some analyses that you can do with SmartPM to understand the impacts and delays associated with COVID-19 and what that might look like on your schedules. Billy's also going to show us a little bit about a new feature that we rolled out on Monday, so I'm looking forward to that. And then lastly, we're going to have a customer panel session, which we've got some questions that we're going to ask our panelists, and hopefully they can provide some great insight to y'all and to everyone on the call here about what they're doing with their organization and how they see these impacts affecting the industry. All right, so let's get started. So obviously, there's no doubt that COVID-19 has had a great impact across the globe. The aftermath of which is going to be challenging. All the projects, around the world are probably going to be challenged in some way or another. And, it's more important now than ever to effectively manage through this, enhance project control, step up our oversight and analytics. And what we've done as a company is we're starting to publish out some thought papers around action plans. So our first step that we did was lay out some action plans that all parties can, take to set up for success and effectively manage through these potential delays and impacts, cash flow challenges, that are likely going to happen in the future. We also published setting up construction schedules for success. If you haven't downloaded those two articles, I suggest clicking on the links that are in our on our webpage and going and downloading those. We've got some great customer feedback indicating that those articles have been extremely helpful to them, and they thankfully have been working out for some people. So go grab those two articles. They're great resources. The other thing that we're working on and that's in development right now is a 5-part webinar series called Commercial Construction Impact Management and Response Plan. This is going to take 5 different series. We're going to partner with different channel partners, law firms, insurance companies potentially, consulting firms, and basically we're laying out 5 webinars, the first of which is a near-term action plan to avoid disputes. The second one will be a risk identification, management, and analysis webinar. The third will focus around relevant contract clauses in light of the COVID impacts and delays that are happening. Fourth webinar is going to focus more along the lines of setting up schedules for success, so aligning people with taking steps to ensure that their schedules are set up on a go-forward basis. And then the last and the fifth one is going to be around schedule monitoring, delay analysis, and forecasting. So discussing best practices in schedule updating and analysis. So those are some of the things that we're trying to pump out as thought leadership and as material to help the industry and to sort of get some education out there. I'm sure we're probably going to have a lot more as the days and weeks continue. So look forward to those invites. Those are in development as we align with our channel partners around the time frame for delivery for those webinars. Next up, I just wanted to briefly talk about some of the additional resources that we're making available right now. So as a company, we're committed to the industry here. We want to make sure that the industry has the tools that they need to get through this time frame and through the challenges that are likely to come up in the next months, maybe even longer. So we're offering, additional users at no cost to you, additional projects with a 50% off additional pricing discount from our already volume-based pricing. And we're making ourselves available for training and project walkthrough sessions on a request basis to help you focus in on some of the specific projects and risks that you may be facing currently. So we want to make sure that we're providing you with the tools, the information, the knowledge necessary to go and understand these impacts and understand what this means for your projects. And then soon to come, what you'll see in the product, just very briefly here, are some self-guided tutorials. So this is going to be, things that you'll be able to click on for extra help if you forget how to do a scenario or a condition, or if you want to find out more information about something. We're working with another company and partnering with them to provide in-product self-guided tutorials, which we hope will help to onboard people more and sort of educate people on how to use the product more effectively. So for now, I'm going to turn it over to Billy Upchurch, who's going to take us through a demo of how to use SmartPM to effectively look at some of these challenges that we're facing. And then also, we're going to highlight some of the specific features that we just rolled out on Monday. So Billy?
Hey guys, let me get my screen up there. John, does that look okay?
Looks good to me.
Yeah, thanks for joining everybody. It's nice to get everybody together and walk through some of this and get all of our thoughts together and hopefully help out. What I want to do here is just show you two things. The first one being we rolled out a new feature on Monday. I'm sure some of you have noticed with the ability to track 2 scenarios from the project creation window. And then the second thing I want to do is show you a couple of different analyses that you can do that are relevant to what's going on with the industry right now. How you can use SmartPM to understand delays and impacts to your project, both on a retrospective and a look-forward basis. So just dive right in. I want to go ahead and get this going so we have enough time with our great panel today. When you go to the Create New Project window, we'll just do this as we normally would. So we'll select the Primavera file, for instance, and I will throw in the zip code, the local zip code here for SmartPM, and I'll click Next. Just like normal, you'll go find that baseline schedule that you want to use for your project, and we'll click Next. So this is where it'll start to look a little different. What SmartPM will do is it's going to process that baseline first. We can see it was uploaded, validated, boom, it was imported, ready to go. And this menu is where you can set up SmartPM to automatically create track to activity scenarios in the project. And you'll want to base that on any contractual milestones or activities that you're interested in from the beginning. So if I filter just for the word complete, I can see I've got a bunch of good milestones in here that I may be interested in. So when the southwest building is going to be finished, when the southeast building is going to be finished, maybe I need to know when the garage is going to be completed. And I can click Finish. And what SmartPM is going to go do now, when I go open it up here, we can see that it's starting to create these tracked activity scenarios that we're interested in. So it's going to set you up to be able to get all the same analysis, delay analysis, recovery, compression, plan percent complete, actual percent complete, all the good stuff SmartPM does, but to the completion of certain milestones that you may want to track, be them contractual milestones or just of interest, maybe revenue generating milestones, what have you. So if I refresh this again, it's probably going to start showing a little bit more. So now we can see it's continuing to work. It's starting the southeast building now, and we can see that the southwest building is set up. And so now the second part of it is that we have enabled SmartPM to be able to automatically update these scenarios with each schedule. Before, many of you will probably remember you had to go, in order to update a scenario, you'd have to click View Details. You have to click Update Scenario, then you have to go through this process. But you'll notice here that we do have this automatically updated scenario checkbox clicked. And you have the ability to select that when you do a manual scenario. But for now, every single schedule that you import will now automatically update these scenarios. So it's a lot more seamless. There's no going back and forth. Just to demonstrate that real quick, what I can do is hit Upload New Schedule. I'll pick this next update. It's going to import it very quickly. Relatively quickly.
We're all working on home Wi-Fi, so I know when my family is all on their other devices that my Wi-Fi certainly slows down.
And then so once that schedule does import, it's going to say, hey, you know, these were the activities that you were tracking to when you created the project. Just a reminder, we're going to update these. We're tracking to this activity. And if for whatever reason you want to omit that activity from being tracked again, so you can deselect that checkbox. But that is now how you will update your scenarios with each new update. So great feature. I think it's going to be huge, especially for those customers who are tracking month to month and trying to stay on top of their projects and milestones. But so with all that being said, I think the star of the show is going to be the scenarios we're able to create to help track some COVID-19 projects. So I'm going to click into this already created project I have. And just to maybe get a lay of the land here, I'm going to open up the Gantt chart view and just kind of see what we've got going on in here. And as always, I like to go fit to screen. So what we notice when we're looking at this schedule is it looks like that we have some fragnets that have been introduced into the schedule. So those activities that we drop into schedules to help track delays, help understand, where impacts may be occurring, even just for notification or notice. If I open this up a little bit further and look down into more of the meat of the schedule, we can see that there's a couple more Fragnet activities here. So, due to COVID-19, and this is a hypothetical, we had a factory shutdown. And we dropped that in for notice. It was shut down between January 6th and February 14th. But what you'll see here is that, due to it being dropped into the schedule here in March, and it was a January impact, it doesn't get picked up in the critical path analysis because it was dropped in on a future date. So we can create a revert rule to help understand what that impact would have looked like had it been dropped in ahead of time. Like if we knew this was happening, what would the impact have looked like? So I can go to our scenario conditions here, and I can click Create Rule, and I'm going to go to the Revert tool. And so since those activities were dropped in March, I'm going to go look at the March update, and I'm going to filter for my Fragnet activities here, and I've got all my Fragnet activities, all the changes that we're seeing. So we can see they were added here in March, all the logic that was added to them as well. And so what I want to do is say, all right, SmartPM, take those activities that were added and all the logic ties that were added with it, and put it in the December schedule. Let's see where the critical path would have been had these activities been contemplated or these impacts been contemplated when I was producing my February or my December update. So the update right before all this happened. And let's see what happens with my critical path and my delay analysis. So I'll call this Revert Fragnet and click Finish. And so we have that condition created. Now that doesn't do anything, as you guys know. That just sets it up to be used. The next thing we can do is go to the scenarios, and we'll create a scenario, and we'll call this Revert Fragnet. And I'll go ahead and I'll set this to be automatically updated with each new update as well. I'll click Next, and we'll go ahead and select all of our schedules. We'll do the full schedule analysis, and then I'm going to enact that Revert Fragnet condition that I set up. So now what SmartPM is going to do is it's going to go rerun the analysis, but those Fragnet activities are going to be scheduled as if they were dropped in that December update instead of the March update. And that will allow SmartPM to utilize those activities in the delay analysis. And that will give us the ability to understand the full impact of that Fragnet and what that actually meant for us during that period and how much delay incurred because of it. While that's off running, what I'm going to do is do one more analysis here. We're all, depending on what municipality you guys are in, you may be impacted in different ways just from labor not showing up or, local governments may be forcing site shutdowns. So it's important to understand what that's going to look like for you going forward. What you can do in SmartPM is actually create calendars that reflect a site shutdown or even just slower than planned progress. So if I go to calendars, I can create a new calendar directly in SmartPM, and what I'll call this is I'll just call this the COVID calendar. And, I may wonder, I'm hearing from the electrician that, the guys aren't showing up as much. They're having trouble. Maybe you have a union issue. And what you can do is come in here and actually select days for non-work. So I can just click on these days here. And all these days I'm selecting will be non-working days to simulate maybe a site shutdown or slower than planned progress. So if I know my electrician is telling me, hey, I'm down to 50% work crews, I can maybe go and do an exercise and say, all right, to simulate a 50% work crew, I'm going to make every other day a non-working day. So work 50% of the time. I know I'm going to at least experience this through April. So now I've got a COVID calendar here where I'm saying, all right, I'm going to plan for 50% productivity in between March and April. And I'm going to click submit. And I'll come back over to my scenarios tab here, and I'll just refresh to see what this is doing. So it's off calculating the delay. And I can create a scenario. I'm going to call this electrical 50%. And I'll click next. Oh, I'm sorry. Actually, I skipped the whole step. I'm going to go to scenario conditions, and I'm going to create a rule. And I'm going to call this a bulk change. What I'm going to do is, starting with my latest schedule update, I'm going to click next. I'm going to go grab all of the activities that have an activity code where we have an electrical contractor, right? So what I'm doing is I'm saying, all right, SmartPM, go grab all my electrical activities. And then what I want you to do is I want you to apply the COVID calendar to those activities and click next. SmartPM will say, here are all the activities I found that have the electrical activity code. Here's their current calendar. Is there anything that you want to exclude? Maybe I don't want to exclude, I don't want to include the owner punch in there. Looks like maybe, and I'll take out the underground electrical. So I'm going to go do all my interior electrical. I'm going to put them on a every other day calendar. And click finish. And then what I can do is I can come back to my scenarios, and you can see the fragnet is finished. Maybe we'll take a look at that at the end if we have some time. I can create a scenario now and say electrical 50% productivity. And I'll have that automatically updated. I'll select all my schedules, full schedule. And I'm going to revert the fragnet with this thing, and I'm going to apply that electrical 50% calendar. And I'm going to click finish. So now what we'll be able to see is how, if my subcontractor is correct and he or she is noting that they're going to have only partial workforce, what does that mean for my schedule looking forward? What does that do to my critical path? How does that push out my end date? And where are other places I can save time, or where are other places are going to be impacted? You know, I can't close the drywaller can't close in the walls if the electrical is not rusted. So this will allow you to see into the future, so to speak, and understand what all this is meaning for your project. I'll just click right into this revert fragnet schedule now. Coming up on the bottom of the hour, so I definitely want to give time for our great panel. Based on the discussions we were having yesterday with them, I think it's going to be very informative. So now if I filter for a complete critical path, I can see that fragment, that factory shutdown, is now sitting directly on my critical path, as opposed to it not being critical in the original analysis. So by putting that fragment in the December update, SmartPM can now calculate that actual impact that it had to the project. I can open this up down here in our delay table and see that actually had 18 days worth of impact to my job, as well as 9 days in the beginning just from the factory shutdown affecting it. So, you know, 2 quick ways for you guys just to go start using the scenarios and those scenario conditions. Looks like this is still processing. But this will give you the ability, in SmartPM, in a safe space, so to speak, in a vacuum, if you will, to understand the impacts of this and hopefully come to some resolutions to help mitigate any of these delays looking into the future, or fully understanding how previous impacts actually affected your schedule. So we're always more than happy to jump on calls with our customers and help them set these up. I know, you know, with all of our trainings, there's a whole training session just for scenario and scenario conditions. It's probably the most powerful tool that SmartPM has, and we are here to help you guys use that. And hopefully, you guys will reach out and we can help you set up any scenarios to help simulate situations you guys may be seeing on your job site. So, John, I'm going to kick it back over to you, and we'll get the panelists up, and hopefully we can have a great discussion here.
Sure. Thanks, Billy, for running through that. I know we kind of sped through that information pretty quickly there and clicked through things pretty quickly, but as Billy mentioned, you know, we're here to help support you through this time. We believe that we've got some tools and some cool things that we can do with those conditions and setting up scenarios to analyze impacts and analyze delays. And so, you know, we want to help you. We want to be here for you. You know, don't hesitate to reach out to us. This session will, you know, like I said at the beginning, is being recorded, so we can send this out at the end, so you can kind of slow play the steps that Billy walked through, and follow along on your own project if you want. But certainly, if you have any questions, do not hesitate to reach out. So great stuff. Thanks, Billy. So moving on to our customer panel now. So we've got 3 great panelists today. I'm going to let themselves introduce themselves. We'll start with Josh and then move on to Greg and Matt. So Josh, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, tell a little bit about your role at your company and kind of some of the projects that you're overseeing and responsible for.
Yeah, no problem. Can you hear me all right, John?
Loud and clear.
All right. Well, good afternoon. Thanks for having me. Yeah, my name is Josh Bergstrom. I'm the Director of Field Ops at Ryan Companies up here in Minneapolis, Minnesota. For those of you that don't know, we're a national real estate development firm providing development, finance, design, construction, real estate management services across the U.S. So we kind of check all those boxes with respect to developer, contractor, and owner. That's kind of what we do and why we're using the software. My responsibilities at Ryan are twofold, really. My first and foremost duty is overseeing the training and development of about 250 plus professional field staff across the U.S., meaning the superintendents, assistant stoops, field coordinators, etc. In addition to that, I'm also responsible for oversight, training, and management of our integrated scheduling processes internally here at our company, which currently includes somewhere around 650 license holders of Microsoft Project, actually, is what we use. So working with those 650 individuals that are spread out between pre-construction, design, and construction arms of the business to fully integrate our scheduling processes and procedures.
Fantastic. Greg?
Yeah, I'm Greg Cashin, Regional Construction Manager for Wood Partners in South Texas. Wood Partners, similarly, is a national real estate developer, owner of multifamily buildings, and we have an in-house GC that I oversee for South Texas, which is Austin and Houston, and I also have volunteered myself as sort of the technology geek, so things related to expanding our use of Procore, bringing in new integrations like SmartPM and others, and trying to drive improved process through technology adoption.
Tremendous. And last but not least, Mr. Vale on the West Coast.
Yeah, I'm Matt Vale. I'm the Vice President of Recovery and Scheduling at Build Group. We're a general contractor in California, so we're in the San Francisco Bay Area, and we are in Los Angeles. We mainly focus on high-rise apartment building construction in San Francisco and Oakland. We do have some commercial stuff in the Silicon Valley. My main focus is, recovery of claims and disputes, mostly related to scheduling, and then I also manage our scheduling across the company, and that's why we use SmartPM, is to kind of review the schedules and help manage all the schedules in the company.
Fantastic. Thanks, Matt. Thanks, Josh. Thanks, Greg. All right, so we've got a set of questions here that we're going to ask. I'm going to start off asking the first question really to all panelists. I guess we'll kind of just go in order, Josh, Greg, and then Matt, if you don't mind answering. But first one is really around the most impactful issues in terms of delays that you foresee going forward? So we know that there's been, issues with supply chain and resources, work stoppages, disputes. I read the other day about, some of the unions walking off or refusing to go to work in Massachusetts. Obviously, this is all going to impact, our projects. So what do you think the most impactful issues in terms of delays and inefficiencies and disruptions will be going forward? So we'll start with you, Greg, and then, Josh, and then move to Greg and Matt. Josh?
Yeah. So you hit the nail on the head. I mean, right now it's obviously staffing and productivity is the main issue, and slowly right behind that is supply chain. I think supply chain is going to be more challenging as we come out of this, just because right now there's so much we don't know. We cannot get a solid understanding of when this product will be here from Italy, for example, or when this product will be here from China. So right now we don't even know how to account for that, other than just the best guess at our fingertips. So that's going to be a challenge, and also just opening up the borders when that time comes and getting stuff in. But furthermore, moving downstream, I think this whole notion of social distancing and just overall approach to work processes and procedures is going to change just because of social distancing. Moving forward, it sounds like the more and more I hear of reports coming out, it sounds like this is going to be here for quite some time, if not to last. So we're going to have to account for that from our productivity or production standpoint on projects moving ahead.
Fantastic. Greg, do you want to take that one on? And then maybe I'll add to that question too a little bit. What role do you envision the schedule playing on projects over the next, months or year here? Just add to that.
Yeah, I mean, the first part of it is, for us, it's all about people. Nothing on the construction side, nothing we do can be done without people, as good as the technology is. And so, making sure that we're doing the right things for our personnel, for our subcontractors' personnel, that, we're offering the maximum support, and, whether that means that we're, trying to source hand sanitizer in bulk from shady sources or whatever. But, whatever we can do to make sure that we're complying with the local requirements and keeping our people safe, and, then monitoring the impact of that on our job. So we're really tracking manpower pretty granularly now, and not necessarily notifying our equity partners, but letting them know that there's potential for delay, and documenting everything in the event that we do notice trends of decreased manpower due to this. And to the extent that we need to run scenarios like Billy was showing, we'll begin doing that. But at this point, it's really just about documenting it in Excel, on paper, and trying to see trends and determining if those trends are causing actual appreciable delays to our projects.
Awesome. And Matt, what about your thoughts around the most impactful issues right now in terms of delays and inefficiencies and disruptions going forward, and then sort of what role do you envision the schedule playing over the next few months?
I guess more of the same from what Greg and Josh are saying. It's what we've seen so far is a lot of lost productivity, subs not showing up, either because of sickness or fear of coming to the job sites. And then, also lost productivity because of the new protocols that we have to, or that we have put in place, social distancing, checking people's temperatures, a lot of different things that have impacted our productivities. And then, as Josh mentioned, there's kind of the unknown of, the fabrication and the delivery of certain items. We know that they're impacted. We just don't know how much they've been impacted. And then, as far as how I've seen it, we just, review our schedules and update them on on a quicker basis. So instead of doing it every month, we're doing it every other week or every week, and just trying to keep on top of what the impact is on our projects.
Awesome, fantastic. Appreciate that.
Thanks, everyone. Kind of moving on. I mean, we all kind of understand a lot of these issues. We've heard about a lot of the productivity supply chain that you mentioned. We're seeing it in the news. What sort of special measures have been taken, if anything, around reflecting these productivity differences? I think, Greg, you kind of mentioned documentation, but are any projects that you're seeing taking on, scheduled labor disbursement, phasing of subcontractors, so having mechanical subcontractor in on a certain day and then followed by the electrical subcontractor? Are you seeing that across any of your projects? And I'll start with Matt there and kind of go back up the chain.
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing the disbursement of subcontractors, and so what we're doing mainly is just trying to document it either through the schedule or through, like Greg was saying, through spreadsheets to understand the cost impacts, and try to figure everything out. So I put it in the schedule and then review it in spreadsheets and understand what the total impact is.
And are you seeing, or are you experiencing in the field any sort of labor shift then? So like I mentioned, kind of having one subcontractor come in at a certain period or certain designated times or days or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, with the social distancing, we're definitely trying to keep the subs apart. Make sure there's plenty of space in the areas so that there's not a bunch of stacking of trades. Yes, so there is that. We are seeing that on our jobs.
Okay.
Yeah, we're doing the same. I mean, we're super cognizant of the fact that we can't have a bunch of people congregating inside the same unit or in the clubhouse. That generally at this point the project just gets stacked with people. We're having to sort of keep them separated, and it's going a little bit slower, but I think what we're finding is that we can keep the social distance. We can keep these people phased in and out of a space and not have it necessarily impact the project too much. And that generally that the reasons that they're stacking inside of a unit or in the clubhouse, it is not necessarily pushing the ball forward as much as we would have thought. A lot of times it's just subcontractors, not necessarily scheduling their work effectively. And so, they're in there on top of each other and they don't need to be. And if we keep one crew out for an extra day and have them come behind the mechanical sub, it doesn't necessarily impact the job adversely. Maybe it does a little bit, but not enough to offset what we're trying to accomplish with this. And if we feel like we're losing a day or two, then we track that. But so far, it's not. The impression is that it's not really impacting the job.
Josh, what about from your vantage point?
Yeah, so I mean, we're kind of similar for us. We're seeing split shifts, staggered lunch times, 4 10-hour days on job sites. I mean, every job is a little different based on its uniqueness and the site requirements, but there's a whole host of those options out there for the teams to implement based on what they're dealing with, and it's working. I don't know if you saw yesterday, but the AGC had a big safety stand down to address this issue, and job sites were set up where they did the safety discussion. Everybody's 6 feet apart, so it's really resonating with people. People get it. The trades are doing great with it. The managers are doing great managing it. and we're moving forward. When we are seeing any particular delays, however, let's say, for example, somebody pulls off or they can't work because they're sick and a subcontractor stops. When that happens, we are instructing our teams to go in and insert delay frag nets and track the delay specifically so we can understand the ramifications of that scenario at the tail end when it all shakes out. But if we're just dealing with some inefficiencies due to social distancing, or maybe it takes a day longer to do a task, we're just tracking that in the as-built schedule that it took this long to do it with respect to the schedule. But we did in that case implement other processes through Procore and internal checklists where our teams can document any slippage or changes in crew, manpower, staffing, etc., or materials for that matter that might be delayed or affected due to COVID. So we are tracking that through Procore so we can have something tangible to go back to later and look into and tell the story.
Great stuff. This is Billy. I guess we'll start with Josh and work our way back down again. But a two-part question: how important is it for you guys to coordinate with your on-site project teams to make sure that your job is accurately statused in the schedule right now? And then, what kind of special measures or considerations are you giving to statusing a job given job site restrictions in your schedule?
Yeah, good question. I said earlier, we utilize Microsoft Project, and we also put the burden on the site teams to do their scheduling, their schedule creation, and their schedule management within that project team. So they are on site, boots on the ground, updating their schedule themselves. That's been our model basically forever. So that part hasn't changed. What has changed is we've recently implemented some internal dashboards where we monitor schedule status, and we're also using the SmartPM quality or schedule quality dashboards within certain projects to monitor schedule health metrics. And we're relying on those at the enterprise level to make sure that everybody's dotting their I's and crossing their T's and keeping their schedules up to date. So I think we're doing well there. Can always do better, but it's always about awareness and making sure people are aware that we just got to stay on top of these things. And I think some of those tools help us get there. So
cool. Yeah, Greg.
Yeah, we don't have any cool dashboards. That's actually a great idea. That having a central place to track all that stuff would be great. That might be phase 2 for us. We just kind of we're also Microsoft Project Shop, and what we've been pushing primarily in this region, 2 things over the last 18 months or so has really been a push towards more accurate cost forecasting and more accurate schedule updating and statusing. And we all say it, on time, under budget. A lot of times what we have found in the past was that we had a really good market, a really good cycle, and a lot of luck. And, some of our scheduling was more due to luck than rigorous schedule maintenance and management. So we've really pushed weekly updates to the schedules following, the processes that you guys have outlined in some of the emails that you send out, specifically making sure that you set the status date before you update the schedule. That wasn't necessarily being done by everybody. And then rigorously updating all of our schedules and recalculating them. And then the final step is we take that thing and we upload it into Procore, and it automatically then gets pushed from Procore to SmartPM the next time you open it. And that's where we go and look at the health of the project and see if we're managing the schedules accurately, if we're having extensive schedule compression, or if there's just wacky logic. And so that's SmartPM has kind of become my dashboard for reviewing schedules throughout the region.
Awesome, man. That's what we like to hear. Matt, you'd like to add anything to with what Build Group is doing?
Yeah, it's more of the same. I mean, at Build Group, we have probably half of our projects that are currently being shut down, and then like half where we're continuing to work. And so the ones that we're continuing to work, we are kind of increased the level of effort and review of those schedules to, as opposed to a monthly review, we do, like I was saying earlier, a weekly or bi-weekly review to make sure that all the impacts are incorporated and that they make sense, and that when you run the schedule, it goes through the critical path that you think it should go through, like Greg was saying, to make sure that it's status properly. And so it's just, I guess what we've done is just more of a increased level of review of the schedules and incorporating them actually all in SmartPM in our little dashboard that we have.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. John, do you have a question? The next question?
Yeah. So I'll start with Greg on this one because I think we had some discussions earlier about this, Greg, offline. But what sort of long-term institutional changes, if any, to the industry do you think will result as an impact from this current situation? What's going to result in the construction management process? What changes do you foresee coming down the pike?
Yeah, I mean, I think that we're all going to reevaluate some of our best practices, and for us, one of the most important ones is just we've all become very sensitive to the fact that we may need to, given the specific issues on a project, we may need to notice an owner or an equity partner or somebody, delays related to loss of manpower or somebody getting sick or whatever, and for us, it's highlighted the need to really, like I said earlier, more accurately track manpower, understand the reasons why there may be a decrease in manpower. If there is, notice those trends and kind of get ahead of them. I think for us, it's really highlighted just best practices with scheduling. I know it's kind of the purpose of this call. It seems a little on the nose, but it really is probably certainly one of the three pillars of the three-legged stool of construction. It's very important not just to have quality in the projects that we build, but also quality in the processes we use to build them. And I think that's going to get even more important to understand the tools that we use and figure out how they enable us to respond to these kind of issues, whether it's being able to track scenarios related to decrease in manpower or reduction in force type issues, or a job shutdown because somebody gets sick. Having a tool like this, we can certainly do it in Microsoft Project. It's just a lot harder, and it requires a whole lot greater understanding of how to tie these things together, because a bunch of files and a bunch of folders different PMs are accessing is not the same thing as having a single source dashboard online you can easily access from Procore or someplace else, or directly from SmartPM and go look at this and notice trends. So for us, I think it's really going to just a lot of words here, but it's really just going to be more focus on refining those tools that we're using to allow us to get to these answers more quickly and have faith in those answers once we get there.
Great. Josh, do you have anything to add from, maybe something that you see as being a long-term change now coming out of this current situation?
Yeah, I mean, I'll take a little different spin on it here. I think what's going to happen as I came up as a carpenter, worked out in the field, and as a tradesperson, maybe I was one of the few, but tradespeople, we were all pretty pretty hardcore, pretty brash, just nose down. If you didn't feel good, you still went to work, and you never thought two seconds about, getting somebody else sick. I think that's going to change. People are going to start to call each other out on, if you're sick and you show up at work and you go home. So that's the first thing I see changing, and then hygiene on the job is definitely going to change as well. The hand washing stations and all the stuff that contractors have initiated here in the wake of this, that's going to become standard. I think there's just a greater awareness on it now, and I think that's here to stay. The other thing I was thinking about the other day, I think the way the legal community reacts with respect to force majeure, I think that's going to be interesting to watch that play out. The definition's I think it's pretty solid what force majeure is. However, I think we're in a situation now where you could come at this whole COVID thing from any angle almost and try to claim force majeure. So seeing how that plays out at the tail end of this, when it gets into the courts, is going to be interesting to see. And the reason I bring that up is I was kind of caught off guard, but I had to sign some papers the other day at the bank, and one of the things I had to sign was a rider saying I wasn't holding the bank. I was holding them harmless with respect to COVID-19, meaning if I got it by showing up there to sign papers, I was holding them harmless. So that had me thinking right then and there that this is gonna ripple through the legal community as well, and stick with us in contracts and so on and so forth down the road.
I think we're still going to see that play out in different jurisdictions across the country. So it'll be interesting to see how the legal community reacts to everything, and how that affects each of the states too. So we've got about 4 minutes left here, so I do want to ask one more question, I guess, to all the panelists. So I'll start with Matt, since we didn't include you on the last one there, but it'll be a two-part question, I guess. So what do you think some of the most useful features of SmartPM will be in the coming months to help you? And then what do you wish SmartPM could do but can't yet? So we'll start with Matt.
So the thing that I was really excited about on this phone call was the additional milestones that we can include, because for us, the big thing is substantial completion, or TCO out here. That's when people can start moving in. And that's what the owners are always focused on. So that will be a big, that would be very helpful for us. And then as far as things to look at in the future, we have kind of certain key milestones. Again, key milestones that it would be helpful to measure, on the reports or something, to show that, okay, from time of top out to TCO, that should be 8 months, but your schedule is showing 9 months or something like that. And that type of thing would be something that would be helpful.
That's great feedback. So tracking milestone, milestone to milestone, essentially.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I second that. That would be great. Didn't think about that, but there's a lot of the scheduling that we do gets down to time between activities, and that's a great way to see sort of, I guess you would call, like interim compression or expansion of the schedule.
Yeah, that sounds like a great idea.
Yeah. Greg, do you want anything else to add to that? Some of the things that you think are going to be useful in the coming months, or anything else that you see that you would like SmartPM to do but can't yet?
Yeah, I like Matt's answer. My favorite new thing is just being able to track milestones. That's critical for us, as we've talked about in the past, that for multifamily, we don't track to final CO or substantial completion of the project. We track to first turn, and all of our leasing and everything is scheduled off of that, and the pro forma is driven off of that because of bank requirements, and so having that ability now, and not having to guess or open up the schedule every time to kind of try to piece that out is pretty fantastic. My main thing that I love though is just the fact that you guys keep iterating and sort of improving and adding features. So it's good to see.
Appreciate it. I'll be sure to let the development team know that. I think some of them will install.
And it's worth mentioning too. I think that in the coming weeks we are going to have some new trends. Hopefully, I think is it by the end of the month, maybe Billy. Last I heard that we might have some new trends that we're going to be putting on the dashboard there too. And so that'll be something that we would appreciate your feedback on. We appreciate our customer feedback on. We value that. We value your feedback. It does go into our roadmap and how we look at our products. So we appreciate it and keep the feedback coming. So we are up on the hour. So Josh, I'm not going to get to you with that last question, but I do want to wrap it up because I want to be mindful of everyone's time today. I appreciate everyone joining. I want to thank everyone for joining. I especially want to thank our panelists for sharing their insights. Hopefully everyone on the call got some great information out of it and got some little great tidbits of information they can take back to their organizations. This was recorded, so in case there is something that you missed, we will send that out. And I do want to make everyone aware that we will send out a brief survey afterwards as well to get feedback from today's session. As I mentioned at the outset, this is something that we're looking at doing in the future as well as the customer base continues to grow. We want to foster a community that shares ideas and shares information across the product and across the industry. So we would appreciate you taking time to complete the survey so that we can improve the content and the information that we bring to you in subsequent sessions. So with that, I want to thank you again for joining. I want to thank our panelists. We hope you all stay safe, stay healthy, have a great weekend, take care of yourself, and take care of each other. Thank you.